The leather jacket was older than most civilizations in the Galactic Coalition. Its surface bore scratches that told stories no database could record, and its faded patches carried symbols from a world that most species considered primitive. When Sarah Chen walked into the Advanced Tactical Operations classroom at the Andromeda Military Academy, wearing that ancient Earth garment over her standard-issue uniform, the reaction was immediate. Laughter rippled through the tiered seats. "Look at the human!" chittered Zelthor, a Crithian whose exoskeleton gleamed with bioengineered perfection, still clinging to her species' barbaric past. A Valanthi cadet, whose translucent form shimmered with superiority, added, "My people were traversing wormholes when humans were still hitting rocks together, and she wears animal skin?" Sarah didn't respond. She'd heard worse during her 3 years at the academy. Being one of only 12 humans among thousands of alien cadets meant enduring constant reminders that Earth was the newcomer, the backward planet that had joined the Coalition barely a generation ago. She simply took her seat in the back row, the jacket's weight familiar and comforting against her shoulders. The mockery continued until Instructor Kylvin entered. The Zephrosian was a legend, a tactical genius who had commanded fleets in the Outer Rim Wars, someone who had seen combat across 40 star systems. His 4 eyes swept across the classroom with the precision of targeting lasers, and his crystalline skin reflected the harsh lights like faceted diamonds. He began his lecture on siege warfare tactics, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had orchestrated planetary liberations. Then he saw Sarah's jacket. Kylvin stopped mid-sentence. His color shifted from confident azure to something paler, almost translucent. The change was subtle, but Sarah had studied Zephrosian physiology. It was fear. "That jacket," he said, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "Where did you get it?" The classroom fell silent. Even the most arrogant cadets sensed the shift in atmosphere. "It was my grandfather's," Sarah replied, meeting his gaze steadily. "He served in the 101st Airborne," Kylvin finished, moving closer, his eyes fixed on a specific patch, a screaming eagle, its colors faded but still defiant. "Division insignia. Earth year, 1944? Sarah nodded slowly. "You know Earth military history?" A strange sound emerged from Kylvin's throat, something between reverence and disbelief. "I don't just know it, Cadet Chen. I survived it." The confusion in the room was palpable. How could a Zephrosian, whose species had only made first contact with Earth 30 years ago, have survived something from nearly 2 centuries in human history? Kylvin's fingers, long and delicate, reached toward the jacket, but stopped short of touching it. 73 years ago, a Coalition deep space reconnaissance vessel experienced a catastrophic malfunction. We crashed on an uncharted world, a planet still recovering from what you call World War II. We were stranded for 16 months before rescue arrived. He turned to address the entire class, his voice stronger now. "We crashed near a place called Normandy. Our technology was beyond anything on that planet. Our weapons could level cities, and our ship's automated defenses killed anyone who approached. We were dying from atmospheric incompatibility, and these primitive humans, who had just finished slaughtering each other by the millions, they had every reason to destroy us or leave us to die." Sarah's hand unconsciously moved to the jacket's worn collar. "But they didn't," Kylvin continued. "Soldiers wearing jackets like this one, men who had seen unimaginable horrors, who had every justification to be paranoid and violent, they approached us with medicine, with food, with engineers who jury-rigged solutions with technology centuries behind ours. They shared rations when their own people were starving. They guarded us from their own military commanders who wanted to dissect us." The instructor's color shifted again, this time to a warm amber. gratitude. I learned something during those months that no tactical simulation could teach me. Humans don't fight because they're naturally violent. They fight because they're naturally protective. That jacket represents something my species, with all our technological advancement, had forgotten. That mercy is not weakness, and that the most dangerous warrior is one who chooses peace first. Zelthor shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Calvin moved back to the front of the classroom. That jacket has probably survived planetary occupations, house fires, decades of use. It's held together with patches and stubborn human refusal to let go. And do you know why Cadet Chen wears it? No one answered. Not because humans are primitive, but because humans understand that some things, loyalty, sacrifice, legacy, those things don't become obsolete. Every species in this room comes from civilizations that have forgotten their struggles. You were born into advanced societies, handed technology and comfort. Humans remember. They carry their history not as burden, but as armor. Sarah felt dozens of eyes on her now, but the mockery was gone. In the Outer Rim Wars, Calvin said quietly, when we faced the Devourer fleet and our forces were breaking, retreating, abandoning positions, do you know who held the line? Human battalions, outnumbered 40-1, with equipment older than most of your species' starships. They held because their history taught them that sometimes survival means refusing to break. The instructor's eyes found Sarah's again. That jacket is a weapon, Cadet Chen. Perhaps the most powerful one in this room. It reminds everyone who sees it that humanity earned their place in the coalition not with advanced technology, but with something far more dangerous, the absolute refusal to surrender what matters. The class ended in silence. As Sarah stood to leave, cadets who had mocked her hours earlier stepped aside, their gazes dropping. She pulled the jacket tighter and walked out, carrying 2 centuries of defiance on her shoulders.